And welcome to Comically Pedantic, where we take a detailed look at the complicated concepts, characters, and history of comic book culture. I'm your host, Eric L. Chase, and joining me on this episode, as always, is the wonderful Corinne Levy.
I didn't know how to say hi today. So, hi. I was like, what am I going to say? Usually, I feel like I do the well, hi. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that today. And then I was like, maybe I'll say Guten Tag. And I was like, no, that feels weird unless I really commit to a German kind of accent. And I'm not good at those. And then I ran out of any other idea. And here we are now.
I could see it on your face because there was a moment of hesitation where it looked like you were going to say something.
Well, and
then
also,
you didn't.
The last time we did an intro, you hit record and it was usually it's all right, we hit record, everything's quiet. But no, for some reason, I had a glass of wine or something and I just went, or something, or some popping noise immediately as we hit record. And I was like, can't fuck it up this time. And I've cooked it.
Yeah, that's the stinger. That's the after credits for that episode. Is actually us just laughing about
because I think I was I did some stupid pop sound.
It was literally right as I hit record.
Yeah, real bad timing on my part. Timing is not my forte. But hi!
Well, I have a question for you.
No, I have a question for you. What's your bright spot?
My bright spot. Oh, okay. So I am the kind of person that does not trust when things are going well. I tend to be an optimist, but I would like to, I usually caveat that with I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist. Mm-hmm. So I usually look for where things are going to go wrong.
Right.
I just got a promotion. I've just moved on to different things. A lot of stuff has been going well in my life, and I keep waiting for the bad thing to happen. And so far, nothing has.
Yeah. Well,
there have been some challenges.
Before, people spend so much time during their content period in their life worrying about the next bad thing that they forget to enjoy the content period. So, enjoy it. Because, sure, eventually something's going to happen that's going to be, an obstacle or something, annoying's going to happen, sure. I mean, that's what happens in life, Mm-hmm. But, it's pretty cool that it's not happening right now, right?
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of, it's one of the, for the first time in at least a couple of months, I would say probably a little bit longer than that, I have been relatively stress-free when it comes to I leave work and I come home and I'm I can manage. If something goes wrong tomorrow, I am confident that it's not going to throw me off entirely.
That makes me really excited because I think I've known you, for a little over a year now. And I think that's the first time that I've witnessed this. Because I think you were just starting to apply for, the promotion you were going for.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all just waiting for, the past, 6 months to a year. And every time I would talk to Austin or, we would hang out, it would just be oh, man, Derek's stressed. Oh no, Derek's unhappy. Well, and
then to add to that, there was for a while I was working in a very stressful environment, just in general, because it was very busy. And then I was going for a promotion to make things a little bit easier, because obviously having a little bit of extra cash makes things a little easier. And when I finally got that, they were like, oh, but we're going to move you so that you have to now drive an hour to get to work. And this was right when gas prices went insane. So I was like, oh, I got this promotion and I'm barely able to afford anything. And then a bunch of stuff happens, right? Everything goes. And then you and I have talked about this. Mm-hmm. I was put in a position where I kept getting shuffled to locations that were having problems because I
You're good at fixing the problems.
Well, I was I was good at fixing problems, but two, I was good at just like helping out. Like I was there to give the other people a chance to fix the problems that were happening. And uh that is very stressful when you don't get a good opportunity to really reap the benefits of what you've sowed. You just go in, do the hard work, and then they send you somewhere else and you do more hard work. Well, now I'm in a spot where there is a lot of hard work that needs to be done, but it's a different kind of hard work. And I'm actually in a place where I'm able to help out other people around me. I'm doing a lot of good. I've met my new boss, and she's on my side on some things like that I've seen that are problems. And I was like, hey, this is a problem. Here's what I think would help. And she's like, yeah, that makes sense. You should do that thing.
Right.
And it's great. It's such a weird relief that I don't know how to feel about it yet. I don't trust it, but I'm enjoying it.
I get that. I mean, like, because I used to work at a very, like, I, well, it's where I met Austin. And, like, I loved the job I was doing, but I was in a very, like, kind of abusive situation with, like, my higher ups and things. And I was like, I gotta get out of here from my brain, and my heart. And I left, and I was like, there was there was a particular I was surprised I wasn't moving up as quickly, and I realized that it's like I wasn't moving up as quickly because I was moving at a normal pace at a job,
Yeah.
which was kinda wild because, like, my first full-time job, it was like I trained for, like, a month, and then suddenly I was just running a whole thing, and, like,
Mhm.
there's a lot of steps that were skipped,
Yeah.
in order to get from there. And so it's just like it was very interesting to know like what a normal job environment felt like. And I was like, it takes a while to get used to, but like eventually, like, you know, you get comfortable with it and you're like, oh, I'm safe. This is nice. Like people value my work. This is cool. Uh what a time. Boundaries are
Right.
nice. So you'll get the hang of it. It'll be okay. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
I'm 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 trying to be comfortable with allowing myself to feel okay with this.
And I was
You know,
like,
that's a process.
well, and I think it's interesting too. I was just listening, I don't know where I had heard this from. It was some video. And they were talking about like happiness and like content. And it was like people were like, it was like they were talking about therapists. And they were like, I don't think therapists believe in like happiness, but they believe in content. And that
Mhm.
like life was like I'm really butchering this 'cause I don't remember where it came from. But it and like I don't fully agree with it, but I do agree with the fact that it's like in your life overall, it's it fluctuates from like content and stress and content and stress
Yeah.
just because like the stress comes from big changes and like stress can be positive like you could be looking forward to a promotion or a big change in your life that is ultimately like for the better but you can have still like complicated emotions about it and that is the thing that causes stress and that's okay and then
Mhm.
once you kind of get there like that's your content like you're settled it's fine like you're breathing through it and then life happens
Right.
again and you're like it's okay life is a series of and like that's it there's two different
So, well, okay. So, what is your bright spot? Uh, what is your content?
my content well
Yeah.
so I think it comes with my stress my stress is that I moved for like very positive reasons my partner got a really his dream job which is very cool so he gets to explore that path so a lot of my
Mhm.
content comes from like I'm very proud of him and excited for him uh the stress part comes from, like, I had to move
Yeah.
to a place I'm not super familiar with, which is okay. I'm, like, learning it, and that's good. Um, but I have to, like, essentially, like, kinda refresh my life a little bit. So, our podcast episodes might be a bit chaotic. We're probably gonna have a Sandman update soon because Corinne might not have time to read certain things.
Yeah, that's totally
But
fine.
that's okay. Because I will still find time always for Spidey, apparently. But, my content from all of the moving and everything comes from, like, I got to visit my family before I moved, which was very important for me. Um,
Right.
I got to see you in Austin in person one more time, and we all had big sandwiches, and that's, like, 2 of my favorite things is friendship and big sandwiches. So so I had a blast with that. Um, and I got to, like, have a phone call with a friend that was good. It's, like, a lot of little things like that. Well, I guess they're not super little because it's just, like, friendship is important. Um, but yeah, I would say, like, stuff like that is probably my bright spot. Wow, look at us having, like, in-depth bright spots instead of, like, the usual where it's like, "I bought a book and it was fun." We're
we're
both
we're
just like, "Wow, a place in our life."
we're growing as people.
What a time. What does that feel like? Sometimes I don't know.
So last time we spoke about smoke and mirrors,
Yes.
and that was a time. There there was a lot going on,
And it
and
starts to get a bit existential. So maybe it's good we had existential bright spots because what we're gonna cover is players and pawns, which
mhm.
kind of gets a little also more existential.
So I guess where we are in the Clone Saga, we have Ben Riley has shown back up.
Yes.
A possible clone of Peter Parker, possibly the real Peter Parker. We don't know because the Jackal has also shown up and he's been like, by the way, I've just been cloning everybody.
Yeah,
And
he's lied like
and
6 different times
yeah, and like I've changed my
in
own
each issue.
body to like and and I like there's like different versions of Peter running around everywhere. And every time he comes in contact with Ben and Peter, he tells each of them they are the real Peter or that they are the clone. He just makes it up on the spot, and you don't know what to believe.
Yeah,
And
it's very bizarre.
and during this time, we also have Kane running around in the background, killing much more interesting villains, and then just watching from the distance. And then
Yeah.
even like behind him, Scryer is also watching from the distance.
Yeah.
So we have someone watching something. And then on top of that,
It's irrelevant people watching dumb shit.
yeah. And then on top of all of that, at the very end of Smoke and Mirrors, there is a pod introduced that is hinted at having the real,
The
oh my
real
god,
or
for
a third
realsies,
Peter Parker, we don't know.
Peter. Yeah, we don't know if it's the real one or if it's another clone, but it's there. And it has been hinted at, like everything else, to to be the real deal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we left off.
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot Aunt May's been in a coma.
Yes, she's still knocked out. Still catching
Yeah.
Z medicinally. Uh, the medical term for coma is catching Z's. So, yeah, we're gonna start Players and Pawns. It's gonna pick up at Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 222. Good old triple two. The title of like this issue is called False Truth, and it's written by Tom DeFalco. Clem Robbins is the letterer, and John Cleese is the colorist. And then Bob Budiansky, he's chilling.
I think you skipped over the penciler and the inker.
Oh no! I don't have them on here. I'm gonna say this now then, because I was gonna save it for after. The thing I
Yeah.
really didn't like about this issue is the art. It's really hard to see anything.
So here's
It's
why. And
really hard.
this is something I've actually brought this
I
particular
think they
thing
put
up.
two friends that don't work together,
Yes.
and it's hard.
Yes.
So
That is exactly what happened.
so it
In
is
a previous
possible
episode I
that, like,
mentioned it.
some of the people are hiding in the background
Mhm.
for the credits. I will take a screenshot, because I also could be wrong, and I could have just been a dumb shit when I wrote this. Um, Maybe we'll edit me in saying all of the proper credits later. I don't know, but don't be mad at me.
So the penciler is Sal Buscema
Okay,
and the inker is Bill Sienkiewicz. Now,
great.
Sienkiewicz is an amazing artist in his own right, but he has a tendency of when he is inking other people to try to make their art look like his art, and
Oh, so
it
he's a
doesn't
good
work.
individual, but he's tough team player.
Right. And
Okay.
his stuff is very scratchy and a lot of fun. It's when he is the sole artist, it is amazing. It is
Yeah.
so well put together.
Well,
Uh
the tough teamwork really shows here. Like, I had to go
yeah.
back sometimes when I was reading this to, like,
Mhm.
to try and figure out what I was looking at. Which is a shame, because, 90%, not 90, but like 70% of comics is the photo. That's what we got. So we're gonna start the whole thing with Kane. He's at the laboratory had blown up where we ended.
Yeah,
Yes.
we had the big like self-destruct sequence in the lab in the Catskills that is the
Which
size
everyone
of a
walked
football
to.
stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all crumbled and, like, rubbly and everything. Kane is
Mhm.
alone and is searching through what was once, this laboratory, and he finds a secure bunker, which is containing all of these computers and, like, data, which hold the secrets to Ben Riley and Peter Parker. It's supposed to be like digital proof of who the real one is. Because, as we've set up, there's a large debate, weird confusion now on apparently who the real one is. And then when Kane thinks he's, like, got all the info, he, like, has like, the floppy disk, because that's the era we're in right now. We're in the floppy disk era.
Are those still the save icons on like Microsoft Word and stuff? Like the
I
the
hope
floppy disk?
so. I don't know. I hope so, though, because that's what I think of when I think of, like, the
Yeah.
save icon. I know, like, I I do all of this in Google Docs because I didn't want to
Yeah.
pay. Um, and, like, it just says save. It doesn't have a floppy disk, which is
Yeah.
minus points for Google. I hope it's still the floppy disk for Microsoft. I'm not sure. But right as he's loading the file, this huge the pod that we were talking about earlier, it bursts up from the ground and it opens, and it's another Peter Parker.
It
Wow.
rises up from the ground?
It literally, like, shoots out of the ground. It's just like poosh.
This is gonna be weird, but like all I could think is not that you've seen it, but in the 90s there was a Power Rangers movie.
Mhm.
And there's a scene where the bad guy, he's in an egg and it literally rises from the ground and then the egg opens. And it's like that's all I can think of. It's like, okay, so it was supposed to be like a prison, but then like the moment the thing opens, it
Yeah.
just is like, all right, here, I'm gonna let you out.
Love it. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it had a timer. Maybe it times for how long your sentence is. It just
Yeah, I
lets
mean,
you out.
well, okay, so maybe if
Exactly.
this is a
Pretty
clone
cool.
of Peter, he was cooking inside, and then the timer, it's like a meat thermometer.
Or normal chicken egg.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
It has its own little, because, like, so with baby chicks, my mom just got some baby chickens, by the way. That's another bright spot. I have a strictly business relationship with chickens because I'm terrified of them, but when they're little babies, they're kind of cute. Um, so when you have a babe, I don't know why I'm just making a fist. when you have an egg that is fertilized and has grown a little chick, the baby chicks, when they're ready to come out, they have a special piece on their beak to help break
Mhm.
through the egg, and then it falls off, if I remember right, on my little
Oh,
thing.
that's like after they come out, the thing just comes
Yep,
off.
it's like it's done. 'Cause they don't have very sharp beaks typically. Like,
Yeah.
if they poked you, like, it doesn't feel like much,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I'll double check with my friend who knows more about animals than I do, but I'm 90% sure that that's, like, an actual thing, like, a little tip of their beak is like, "I'm done." Anyway, so that's essentially, like, 3rd Peter Parker comes out of sci-fi egg that just booshes out of the ground. Um And then the jackal I didn't know that the jackal had a different name, so I noted his other name is Miles Warren. Um,
Yeah.
he shows up from behind, and he has his little goblin friend, who we now know is named
Jack.
Jack. I didn't know all this when I wrote this, but I'm learning, it's fine. So, while the jackal and Cain fight, Scryer just shows up from literally out of, like, nowhere. Because there's no doors. We don't know where he came from. This distracts the jackal, and that allows Peter 3.0 to flee. Same with Kane, and that's it. That's it for that scene.
That's like a chaotic
It was
introduction.
super weird because it was just like it's a panel, and I took a screenshot of it. Like the only panel you really see of Scryer is just like it's a close up of him being like, "Hello," essentially, and then the jackal's just like, "Ah!" and like wants to fight him now. And then Kane just leaves. It makes no sense at all. It's like watching me try to get one task done. I like will start a thing and I'll be focused. And then I'll get distracted by my cat and then the rest of my tasks flee. It's just, it's just gone. Which was really insulting to read. I did not have fun. I was like, this is too self-reflective. But anyway, that's the end of that scene. And it goes to Ben Riley. He's at like kind of like a YMCA gym type of thing. And he is kind of a little incognito, like his normal citizen wear. And he's checking on on Flash Thompson, who I guess used to be Peter Parker's like bully when he was young.
Yeah.
I did not realize that he had a last name. I learned that
Flash Thompson?
Flash Thompson. I just thought he was called Flash. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, Flash Thompson. And he's in I don't know which of the Spider-Man movies you've seen, but he's in a couple of
he's in
them.
the Tobey Maguire one.
Yeah. He
He's
he tries to punch Peter.
Joe Manganiello.
Yeah, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Uh he actually is a really interesting character. Later on in Spider-Man
At first,
comics,
I thought you were talking about Joe Manganiello, and I was like, "Yeah, he plays D&D. Like, he's got a super
yeah, no,
famous squad."
he is
And then you were
also a
talking about
super
just
cool
the character.
character. No, both of them are cool.
I
Uh
found Flash to be interesting though with this, because it's
yeah.
like, yeah, he was a bully, but now it's like it seems like because Ben kind of talks about it a little bit since he shares Peter's memories
Mhm.
as we've drilled that into the ground. But it seems like in this point in Flash Thompson's life, he is like a youth athletic coach for like kids in the community. And so
Mhm.
he's just really like kind towards these kids and just like wants these kids to have like a fun time and is just teaching them, how to play games together. And like basically Ben Riley's like, wow, good shot at life. Maybe I'm gonna have a good shot at life. Also, like, am I Peter Parker? I don't know. He's not super convinced though. That's kind of the end of that. We'll get back to that later. We're gonna go back to Kane, and he has successfully gotten his floppy disk that we all know and love. Shout out to Microsoft Word. And again, it's just reiterating that it's like this could be like the real evidence of like who the real Peter Parker is. And then before he like himself says it out loud, because it's like a lot of this is like teasing, like they're gonna tell you who it is. It'll be like, I
Yeah.
have the floppy disk here and I read it and it says, and then something else happens. So in this
Mhm.
case, Kane has one of his weird headaches that have happened in a couple issues I had before. And it's the
Mhm.
whole vision of like Mary Jane being murdered again.
Just a thing that is,
It's
like,
just a thing that
simmering
sometimes
in the
comes up.
background. Yeah.
It's like the one context thing we have of Kane is sometimes he gets a migraine and thinks about Mary Jane dying and being like, I gotta stop it. But he doesn't do anything. So that's like a thing that happens. It was kind of annoying to read because Kane slowly is getting on my nerves. And then we go to actual Mary Jane. She goes to a doctor because she's pregnant. She is healthy, but the doctors want to do some more tests because the baby might be an anomaly. And because they're just like, we picked up some interesting things about your baby. We want to do more tests. And she's kind of like, oh no, what if they find out my husband's Spider Man because of these tests they might do on me for the baby? Just like a weird passing thought. And then it kind
I
of
mean,
doesn't really get addressed again. Because I guess like it would be interesting, like, if you know, if you are a superhuman or like are having a child with a superhuman, like how does that affect the baby that you're having? Because like if your superpowers are like affect your affect your gene code, like
yeah,
that
I
could
mean,
be
so
interesting.
it's kind of there's that, I think it was in Mallrats, there's the question. Actually, it might not have been Mallrats, but there's the question of like Lois Lane gets pregnant. How do we know that the baby doesn't kick outside of her stomach? You know,
Well, and
like
it's
just
kind of also like my closest reference is Twilight.
okay, yeah,
Like very
same
clearly in
thing,
Breaking Dawn, like humans should not be having vampire babies.
right?
And you will break your back and all of your things. You'll probably die. Um Better hope that you have a committed vampire boyfriend if you're going to be having a vampire baby.
And a good health plan.
Very good health plan. But I mean, like, Carlisle was a doctor, so, like, I'm sure he has good benefits from being a doctor.
At this, I mean,
Because even if
he
he had to
has
move, we're going to talk about this for a minute. Even
he's
if
been a
he had to
doctor for
move,
how long?
well, yeah, he's been a doctor for a long time, but, like, obviously when he finds a new job, he's still, like, has his credentials as a doctor. So he would get
But
around
he's
the
got to
same
fake
pay
that
and
at some point,
benefits.
right? Like he's got to either go back and like pretend to be someone else and get a new doctorate,
I don't
or
know. There's, like, also it's the Volturi, right? They're,
yeah,
like, the whole
the
Illuminati. They
Italian,
probably got, like,
yeah.
tons of ways to get the credentials that you need, you know? They live in a castle. They can do anything. Doesn't castle equal ultimate power? Anyway, back to
Such a
Spider-Man. So, yeah, that's the thing. Mary Jane is worried, like, are they gonna spot anything weird about my baby because my husband is Spider-Man? Also, no one knows my husband is Spider-Man.
Oh, that's the other thing that I was going to mention.
Yeah.
Mutants exist in the Marvel universe. So like
Right.
you can just be like, I mean, I there's also a fear there of being like, oh, my husband is a mutant. They might treat me differently. But like
Well, can't
it's not a one for one, like they're gonna figure out he's
or
Spider-Man.
could it also be just like can't just babies happen mutant babies happen from normal people?
Yeah, but
Like aren't
it's rare for babies to show signs of being a mutant. It's usually like a puberty thing. Uh
mm,
but I mean it happens, you know. And it is it's not necessarily just like the you can have a mutant baby and be like a just a regular person, and the father or the mother, the other person could also be a regular person.
mm,
But it works in the same way that like stupid racism and bigotry works in the real world, in that like people don't give a shit. They're just going to be like, oh, you have a mutant baby, fuck you,
yeah.
you know.
Anyway, back to Spider-Man. Jackal and Tiny Goblin Jack, they're going to a new lab in New York.
Another lab
Yeah.
on top of the Catskills size of a football field.
Yes, they have a
Lab.
new lab. It is
And a
in
guy who's been missing for 5 years
Yes.
has
Correct. You did
somehow
not mishear
continued to
me.
pit.
He has more real estate. All of these scientists have too many labs. Too many.
Yeah, you could one is fine.
One's good. How many experiments are you really doing at once?
Well, I guess if all of them have a self-destruct button, you might need more than one.
Well, I think it's a cycle of labs. So as one is
Yeah,
destructing, one is being built. This one's
right.
not fully built yet that they're going to. It's
Oh, okay.
almost done. Which I guess is a little more realistic than just having like Dr. Seward's like unused lab in New York. But
Right.
oh well. Uh and they're trying to learn more about Ravencraft, the mental or the like the Arkham Asylum of Marvel essentially,
Yeah.
because it sounds like he needs something from in there essentially. And now we're going to go to Peter Parker, who is trying to like scrounge up some work at the Daily Bugle, but it's not going great for him. And I I keep calling him Triple J, but J. Jonah Jameson. That he's like, oh, there's no work, Peter. Sorry, but that's not all they talk about. Triple J also mentions that Detective Trevane is asking questions about Peter Parker and whoever this Ben Riley guy is. And we're going to take a little peek at that. Cut into the scene with some police officers, and they're trying to get some search warrants ready. So they have like all the Mark of Cain stuff. That's like the murders they're solving. I'm saying this because I keep forgetting about the detectives. Because they only get brought up for like 2 seconds at a time every like other issue that I read. So it's like every 4 issues, there's like a 2-second scene of just like, we found fingerprints, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
And it's just like, it's just one of those weird loose ends, but it seems like it's starting to go somewhere now. They're trying to get warrants to arrest either Peter Parker or Ben Riley. We don't know which one yet right now. And which leads me to believe they haven't said it explicitly, but like we know that they have evidence that has like the mark of Cain on the
Mhm.
victims. So it's like supposed to be like, oh, Cain shares the same DNA as Peter Parker and Ben Riley, so he's probably like a weird clone gone wrong. Again, none of this has
I
been
wish
said like explicitly.
I wish people could see your face,
And how
your like
tired I am. How tired I
yeah,
am of
just
talking
like
about
oh,
Cain.
like Jesus Christ, like your head is bobbing back and forth because you have to talk about Cain.
I don't like Cain. I thought he was.
Yeah.
You can go back to like the first couple things that I read, and I was like, he's kind of cool. He has a fun intro. He's
Yeah.
blue. That's fun. And now I'm just like, I go join the Blue Man group, pick up a drum, and get on with your life. I could not care less about this man. He's
The one thing he did have a really cool intro. I have always hated his costume.
I
But
don't
like
mind
I mean
it.
the
I think
color
it's cool. It's just they don't do anything with it because it's like you don't know what it is. They won't tell you
yeah,
downright
it
like
is
what it
confusing.
is. So it's just like because like with Venom, he's all goopy and he's funky, but it's like you know why he's a goop boy. It's because he's a symbiote. Like you know why Carnage is another goopy boy. You know why like the Hobgoblin looks goofy. You even know why the Jackal kind of looks goofy. And like that's fine. I can get down with all those designs. Like I sure have my favorites and my least favorites, but
Mm.
the character design usually has something to do with the backstory. Like even with like as basic things as like playing D&D. Like I'm not going to play a rogue and have him wear like, you know,
Royal garb or like or
yeah, or
knight's
like
armor.
just fluorescent tunics cuz he's a rogue. They're going to want to blend in somehow. They're going to want to be stealthy. And if I was a
Yeah, you could.
bard, I'm not going to dress like plain Jane. I'm going to be colorful and fun cuz I'm a bard. And like, the details are your own from there with your own little like, artistic flourish or whatever. But at least like there's it all comes back to who the character is. And Kane, at first I'm like, oh, he's cool and he's blue and he's kind of veiny and that doesn't make any sense. I hope we know why he's like that. Like, is he something that like what happened? Is he a clone gone wrong? I'm leading to believe that, but nobody has given me any freaking clue of a cool backstory. I've talked about this way too much. I'm
No, I
so
really
mad about it.
I'm starting to I started flashing back to when I was like, it would be a good idea, like a fun thing to do to read through the Clone Saga. And I mentioned it to you and I was like, now it's a long story and it's really bad. And you were like, I'm down for it.
It's fun.
And now we're a little bit into it and you're like, this is pissing me off.
uh I just like there's parts like we're gonna get to parts that I like. I promise there's parts that I like. Um like I liked the Flash Thompson stuff. I think there's some cool things. It's just I'm so mad about Kane. I don't need everything to be explicitly told to me. Like I love a good mystery, but like even mysteries have context. Like it's just I'm so mad. It's fine. I'm not gonna bring back the I'm not gonna bring it back the Corinne's mad counter from Comicsgate that stays with Comicsgate. But I'm quite annoyed and I forget where I was. Oh, I didn't find it. Hold on. You gotta give me like 2 seconds.
We were talking about Kane. I know that.
Yes, okay. So my guess is that Kane has the same exact DNA as Peter Parker and Ben Riley, but they haven't told us that. They're just
Yeah.
that's what the police believe. And so that's my conclusion of a somewhat educated reader, I guess. So that's probably
You're
going to
you're you're
cause
able to pick up the little pieces
some dumb
of
context clues. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so salty now. I need to chill out.
No, I like angry Corinne. Let's keep this going.
She's mad. So that's probably going to cause some problems later, but we're going back to so Peter Parker has now left the Daily Bugle's building because he's like, oh man, there's no work for me. I guess that's what
Mm.
happens when I don't work for weeks or whatever because he was gone for a while. So he's walking along the street and he's kind of having this like inner monologue, wondering if like is Ben the murderer? Like, because he doesn't really know what Ben does in his time, and he's like, that's kind of weird if like Ben's the murderer, and it's like, what kind of stuff is he getting up to? But then like Kane just like pops out of nowhere, just like from a little alley, and he gives Peter Parker like the evidence, like the floppy disk. He prints out the information and is like, here's
So
the
he
evidence from the jackal. And this like really weirds out Peter Parker because he's just
I
like,
mean,
I don't know
this
you.
big blue guy just shows up and is like, I have all of this paperwork about who you are. This will reveal everything. But who the fuck is this guy?
And he's not in like he's just like Peter Parker civilian style. He's
Yeah.
not he's not Spider-Man right now. So he's just like, what? Okay. It's like if a Muppet was Little John. Way too high pitched, a little scratchy. But yeah, he's really weirded out, and you know what? I would be too. And I'd also be like, "Who are you? Why do you have no context in your life? Get away from me! I don't know you." And that's how I personally would react if I met Kane, but I'm not going to talk about him right now. Because now I'm going to talk about Ben Riley. We're going back to him. He is still at the gym where Flash Thompson is given his little like basketball coaching, and he's about to like walk out of the gym. But then the Jackal, he's back. He crashes through the gym ceiling and just like unleashes a bunch of weird reptiles to like attack Flash and like the kids. Because he knows that Ben's there. I don't know. It's very weird. I didn't know that he could just make reptiles, but I guess that's a thing he can do. It was very surprising.
It's fun to see the extent to what high school or not high school, but college biology professors can do.
I like that it's usually reptiles too. I don't know why, but whenever I think of biology, I do think of reptiles. I don't think of
Yeah,
I don't think of like mammals as often.
like mice maybe.
Yeah, like maybe I don't know. I still mostly think of reptiles. I think that's just because that's normally what people's class pet was.
Was a reptile?
Or like we had a tarantula though. I don't know. Weird stuff.
Hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, weird reptiles. Uh Ben Riley does a really quick change, and now he's Scarlet Spider and he's ready to fight. And it kind of jumps back and forth between Spider-Man now approaches Kane and ambushes him because these papers really freaked out Peter Parker. And Spider-Man thinks that Kane is messing with him. And while like Kane is being attacked by Spider-Man, he's thinking like, did the Jackal want me to do this all along? Like give Peter Parker this evidence and have him unleash on me. Like everybody's questioning everything right now. And like the main people questioning everything is Peter Parker and Kane. And then
Yeah.
Ben Riley's just kind of like, oh no, there's reptiles about to attack kids. I better go save them. It's kind
See,
of.
I think this is why Ben tends to be my favorite Spider-Man at this
Yeah,
time.
because he's like, I just
Because
gotta
he's just like
focus on the task at hand.
he's like, whatever, guys. I like bad things happen.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
It's a time. And then it ends with Peter Parker, the third one. We're gonna go back to him. He was
Yeah.
in the very beginning, now he's back. And he hitchhikes in upstate New York. He's not
Was he
knowing
naked?
who he is, but he's feeling as though he should be doing something important.
Is it does he have clothes?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say this now, just so everyone knows what I'm gonna get confused at one point towards the end.
Okay.
And it's because he's wearing the same exact clothes that Ben Riley wears almost every day.
It's the stock
They all
costume.
spawned in like the blue jeans, gray t-shirt, olive jacket kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
I
sometimes
mean,
they
it's a
have
good
that.
look.
It's a nice outfit, but they all have it. And like sometimes Peter Parker will have like, like a pea coat situation. Like when he
Mm-hmm.
goes out or whatever, like he'll have a legit coat, and then like Ben Riley and Spider-Man or Peter Parker 3.0, they both have the same outfit, like all the time, which can be very confusing. And it will get
Yeah.
confusing just by how they sometimes outline scene changes.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the end of the the long-winded spectacular Spider-Man 222. So, and also just like a side mention, whenever the Jackal and like Jack were in a scene, little Goblin Jack is worrying about his potentially denaturing cells.
Yeah, he got to see clones degenerate in front of him.
Yeah.
So now he's
Just so everyone knows, that is still like a theme. It's just like very briefly mentioned, but I was like, I didn't know what you were gonna read about. And I was like, this is probably important. Let's note it.
I'm still stuck on where the hell that third Parker got those clothes, because he would have been naked coming out of the
He
pod.
came out of the pod in clothes.
Okay.
I don't know. He came out of the pod in clothes.
I mean, everybody else that came out of these
Yeah,
pods
like
was butt ass
Gwen
naked.
Stacy's she didn't have
Yeah,
clothes.
she had this smoke covering her
Did Ben
nipples
Riley have clothes?
we no, because we do get to see that. No, he didn't.
And then, well,
And the
Jack is
jackal came out covered in like ooze.
and Jack is just a little goblin man who never
And
wears clothes.
we didn't get to see Jack being born. We just kind of like see him.
And he's
So
always
like,
naked.
well, he's wearing the like costume, the like green furred costume.
Oh, that's a costume?
Yeah, because he pulls the mask off and he looks like Peter.
Oh, I don't remember that. I just always assumed he was a goblin.
No, it's just so he's wearing like a miniature version of the Jackal's
Right,
original
to just be
costume.
like, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now. So yeah, that is still a theme. I put like as a pro, did Kane get more context? But as I thought about it, no, he did not. I just made a conclusion. So
I like that your pro was a question.
I noted to be determined. And I determined no.
No.
I'm being real tough about this Kane situation. Things that I did not like as much. As I mentioned, I did not enjoy the art with this. It was very hard to look at, like to try
Yeah.
and see things. Like there's a point where Kane and the Jackal they're fighting in the beginning, and the way they did shading and created the shapes of like their bodies and things like that, it's really hard to figure out like am I like what body part is this? Is this the whole body? It was
What
really
body part
tough,
is
and,
this?
like, I'm sure they're both really great individual and maybe with different people, but just the people that they paired for this issue, it was tough.
Yeah, at some point I think it would be fun for you to look at their art separately because they are both very good
Yeah,
artists
because it's like,
separately.
listen, like, I mean, you get paid to do this. I have no doubts that you're good, but I also understand that sometimes there's just ingredients that don't go well together, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But yeah, it wasn't the most enjoyable. It was just hard to see. It was hard to look
Mm,
at.
yeah.
It was a bit of an overwhelming read. I kind of mentioned I was like, I don't know if this is just like the day that I was reading this, but it kind of was overwhelming because it's like in the very beginning you have these random people that just like pop up, like Scryer and all that. And you're kind of like,
Right.
what is happening? And then you have to like remember about the detectives, and you're like, oh yeah, the detectives. Okay, someone's gonna get arrested soon. So it was kind of just like it was a lot, and the Jackal is a lot sometimes, and I was just like, okay, I get it. You're a character. And that is kind of my last thing that I didn't love. The Jackal is I don't like his dialogue. I think it's kind of annoying and a
Yeah, he's
little
dime store Joker.
well, and it's a little too like writer self-aware kind of thing. Like,
Okay.
okay, this is really gonna show like when this is coming out. But you know, like how everybody's kind of shitting on that show Velma, like the HBO Max, like
Yeah.
it, and a lot of
Yes.
it's like a lot of people are shitting on it because it's just like literally it's too self-aware of like, oh my god, movies always do this, and like you're always a character that blah 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 blah. It, I feel like the Jackal talks a lot like that, and it takes you out of it. Cause like there's times
Yeah.
it's a lot of times where he's like, "Oh, this isn't the part. This is the part of the movie where blah blah blah," and I'm like, just, just punch him. Just punch him. It's fine. You don't have to say everything all the time. Just punch him." So that was like kind of annoying. He did a lot of like pop culture references it's fine. But there's a limit that I
Yeah.
have, and that I was kind of I took a day or two off of reading after I read that issue because I was just like, I'm tired.
Yeah, I have taken a break from reading Spider-Man because I read ahead a little
Yeah.
bit. And there is a point where you're like, hold on. I'm gonna have to take a step back for just a bit, and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah. But eventually I did come back, and
Mhm.
I came back to Web of Spider-Man, number 123, level
One, two,
123.
three.
123. And this one was called True Lies. I have a screenshot of like all the credits because this one's easier to read.
Yeah.
Yay! I'll add that picture. It's a fun time. So yeah. It pretty much it starts immediately where we ended with the Jackal and Scarlet Spider in the middle of their YMCA gym fight. And there is a point where like the Jackal throws like Scarlet Spider out the window and he's about to hurt like Flash Thompson, but so it's very clear that like the Jackal knows people in Peter Parker's life because there would be no
Yeah,
point.
I would imagine that it would be a top priority if you're like, this guy is my fucking mortal enemy. You're like, maybe I should just look into him.
Yeah, so he's definitely like studied up. And he's about to like beat up Flash and he's like, "Oh, maybe I'll kill you, blah blah blah." Like while he waits for like his cuz again his new lab is building. He's like, "This will kill time, killing you." And then Scarlet Spider comes back and they continue fighting. And it's very clear just like by the dialogue that the Jackal is just really doing everything he can to mess with Ben Riley's brain, just to be like, I made you. You're the original. Like he keeps just like being really confusing.
And super annoying.
Yes.
I can't like look, you're messing with their brains. I get it. But every time you speak, you don't have to keep like you've already introduced the question.
Exactly.
You don't have to keep repeating it.
Yeah, I think it's just a kind of it's like not letting them forget about it. It's like the
Yeah.
overflow of like when you get hate comments on the internet or something. He's
Yeah.
just the
He's an internet troll come to life.
yes, he is. It's a time. The next little bit, we're gonna be jumping back and forth between the two fights because we just ended with Spider-Man and Kane also fighting. So it's
Yeah.
gonna jump between those fights. Bear with me. Spider-Man and Kane, they're fighting on a rooftop, and Spider-Man has like the written evidence about who the OG Peter Parker is, and like it says it's him, like he's the OG, but he keeps worrying that it's like a bluff and he's like it's just words on paper, like what does it all mean? And he doesn't know Kane. So
Yeah. This is their first interaction.
yeah, and so he doesn't know that like Kane also just doesn't have any of the answers. But he thinks Kane has the answers. So he's like, "Tell me." And Kane's just like, "I don't know." um he's just a dumb messenger. He doesn't know
Oh
anything.
boy.
He's just gotten himself into like a bunch of shit. And now we're jumping back to like Ben Riley Scarlet Spider, and he is defeating all the reptiles, which isn't too hard for him because they also are denaturing. So he'll like punch them,
Right.
and then they just like turn into goo because they're made of the same stuff that clones are made of. It sounds like. And then the Jackal sends like little Goblin Jack out to fight, and he's like, "You're not gonna live long anyway. You might as well just do it." Like he just keeps reminding Jack about like his mortality and like how little time he has, and he's like, "You might as well just do what I keep saying. What else are you gonna do with your time?" Scarlet Spider's still trying to fight like the reptiles, and now he's trying to fight Jack, and one of the reptiles is about to like hurt Jack, and so Scarlet Spider saves him. And Jack's like, "Oh my gosh, thanks." You're pretty cool. And while this is happening now, the Jackal's jumping into the fight. It's like very chaotic. Jackal likes to attack people from behind. Like he's a gritty dude. And
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He wants to hop in and just like punch you from behind and like sort of mess with your head, and then he steps out while other people do his like the fighting for him.
yes, essentially. Before we get back to Spider-Man and Kane, there is a brief moment with Peter Parker 3, and he is about to take a nap in the streets of somewhere. He's like, I gotta take a nap, and I don't have a place to go, so I'm just gonna fall asleep next to this dumpster, which is very sad. It's very sad to see him do this. But he's still like wondering who he is. He like has no clue. The only name that he heard in the lab was Peter Parker, and he's unsure if that's him. He has no clue.
Right.
And that's it. That's just like a little interlude kind of thing. Now we're going to go back to Spider-Man. He's still fighting Kane.
Mhm.
And then Kane has some thoughts. And if you thought I was
You had some excitement on your face when you
thought
said that.
I was annoyed before. As you may know, this whole episode is called Players and Pawns. And Kane is just wondering as he's like fighting. He's realizing that like this may have been what the Jackal wanted all along. And though that's annoying, Kane's like, at least I'm one of the players and not a pawn. And I almost shut my computer off. Because I don't know if you know this. And I don't know if you sensed the vibe of who's important in this story. But it's not Kane.
No,
Kane
and
is the
if he was
of a messenger in this. He was tricked into thinking he had some kind of information that was actually valuable, which it may or may not have been. And then he, based off of manipulation, thought it was a good idea to give it to the person it was exactly supposed to go to cause them emotional stress and then fight them.
the definition of a pawn.
As some sort of distraction so he could fight, so Jackal could fight Ben Reilly. Like,
Right.
you're
He
a
has
pawn.
no agency of
You're
his
a
own.
stupid
Yeah.
pawn. And like you're a pawn who wants to be a knight and you're just not. And it's so I was so mad. I was so mad. Ah! It's just like, how unaware are you? And it hurts my
Yeah.
brain because it's just like again, this is very clearly like a Peter Parker. This is clearly a spider versus a jackal situation. This has nothing, like, nowhere in here has it been like, Kane, man, he's doing it. I'm just. Like, this is the roommate that is like, I'm a great roommate, but they leave their dishes in the sink all the time.
Mhm.
And like, it's just like, it's how unaware can a person be? It just drives me nuts. This is one of my biggest pet peeves is is unawareness. Know yourself.
Yeah, I think
It's okay to
I
be
think
a pawn.
everyone
If anything,
everyone
I'm gonna talk for a minute. If
go ahead.
anything, it would have been better if it was just like Kane realizing he was treated like a pawn, but he wants to be a player. And then he just goes crazy. Like, that would have been great. And like, but we have no context. He just moves around and he just watches things. That's literally what a pawn does. Is it moves one space ahead and then it just watches all the better pieces in chess do better things. Just, I'm mad about Kane. I don't like him. That's the end of that scene, though. Anyway, we're gonna go back to a scene that's more of a player versus a player, as opposed to a player versus a pawn. And the Scarlet Spider does defeat the Jackal. And a big part of him defeating the Jackal is a lot of times, kind of like when he's fighting Venom, you know, the way he gets Venom is he like builds his confidence in himself. and he gets that,
Mhm.
like, good punch or the good web in and, like, all that stuff, and essentially, like, that
Yeah.
happens again, and it's kind of even more special because it's like he's battling a person who keeps telling him, "I made you, you're not real," like, you know, all of that stuff. Because eventually in the fight, it does kinda just Jackal commits to, like, the "I made you," like, "You're mine" kinda thing. Ben Riley kinda overcomes that and is like, "Bye," which was very cool. That was very, very exciting. And because it's like you see this guy who at first is like, "I'm not a person. I'm just like the shared memories of another person." But now he's like, "No, I'm Ben Riley. I have a first name and a last name and some of a personality. Woohoo!" And I thought that was very nice. And then we go to an
I
even
like
yeah,
seeing Ben, like, come into his own. And I think
yeah,
that's actually that actually is a good part of, both Peter and Ben have character arcs. Ben's is like sort of accepting his lot in life and trying to carve out his own path.
yeah.
And Peter's is like, maybe I should care about people that aren't me. Like,
And I
which is
think
such a weird thing for him.
yeah, and I think before, like, when I was reading a lot of this stuff, I was getting a little frustrated because I don't think I really understood the pacing of what I was supposed to read this at, and knowing that this was supposed to be, like, the end of it, keyword supposed to be,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
looking back at the overall piece, I kinda like it, and I think it kinda makes sense, and it does kinda go back to that, like, what we were talking about, like, much earlier with, like, content and stress and content and stress. Because, like, Ben
Mhm.
Riley from beginning of Clone Saga to where Pawn and Player and Pawn is gonna end,
Mhm.
like, he does that. Like, he has his stress, and then he has his moment of content with, like, Web of Life, and now he's, like he was going through stress, and now he's, like, trying to get to his content again, and it's very, like, cool to watch, and I'm like, I've changed my opinion on the overall, like, Ben Riley arc so far, and I'm like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So I do like Ben. He's very good. Good lad. Good boy Ben.
Yeah.
We love. But yeah, that's the end of that scene, and we're gonna go to an even better thing. Can you guess what it is?
Aunt May.
Yeah, she
Oh,
wakes up.
wow.
She wakes up.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, she's awake now.
Oh, we actually have Aunt May as a character. She's no longer an NPC in this.
Yeah, her eyes like open, and that's kind of it. But it's really
Weird.
cool. She wakes up, and the doctors are like, "We gotta get her family in touch with her." Which, I was so excited. This is like, I had a great time reading this one. I was like, "This is a good time." Because people gave themselves validation, and an old lady woke up. What more can I ask for? Uh, I love when old people wake up. So Aunt May wakes up, really exciting. Doctors are thrilled. We're going back again to the Ben Riley scene where we're cleaning up the whole Jackal crime and everything. He's getting arrested, sent to Ravencroft, and he's like, "Ha ha ha, this is what I wanted all along." He's like, "I wanted to get
He's
caught and arrested." Because,
he's doing the thing that was happening around like the 2007, 2008, like maybe even a little bit before that, of like the Joker getting caught, but it was all part of the plan. Loki getting caught, but it was all part of the plan.
yeah,
That weird James Bond villain that got caught, but it was all part of the plan.
yes.
Like that was just a thing that happened for a
Yes,
while.
that's happening now. He kind of says like there's something there that belongs to him. So that's why he
Mhm.
wants to go. We don't know what it is. They didn't say. But he's like, "Haha, this is what I wanted." And then as the Jackal is getting arrested, the Scarlet Spider notices Jack
Yeah.
and he kind of grabs a hold of him and little Goblin Man gives him another like hard drive, like another floppy disk, and it's supposed to say that Ben Riley is the real. the real Peter Parker. And, like, if you
Gotcha.
look at this hard drive, it'll show that you're the real one. And Ben Riley takes it and he's like, "That's pretty wild that you would give this to me." Quickly after Ben gets this floppy disk, Jack deteriorates in
Oh,
Scarlet
no.
Spider's hands. And the
Yeah.
Jackal is like, "You got your fate in your hands. Ha ha! Like, you're gonna turn into goop." But he's also holding the hard drive that's like,
That
"You're
says he's
real."
not.
So it's kinda like both of them are in his hands. Symbolism.
I do kinda like that,
Yeah, it was
where
kinda
he
interesting.
has
I don't know if they really intended it because it's like in the photo, it's just the goop, but the
right,
Scarlet Spider
but,
doesn't have pockets, as far as I know. So, like, he
I
has
mean, he's
to be
wearing a
so he's
hoodie.
gotta be holding, like, a but it doesn't have the pockets in the front.
Oh, okay.
So he's gotta just be holding a goopy hard drive right now. It wouldn't
Hopefully, it still works.
I don't know. Listen, technology back then, pretty strong. No idea. It wasn't unless he was like, "Oh boy, I gotta put it in a bag of rice." But, I don't know. I'm sure it was fine. We'll find out later. Because now we're going back to Spider-Man versus the
Yeah.
pawn known as Kane. And Kane throws Spider-Man off a building, and he hits his head. And instead of, like,
Damn.
Spider-Man's head turning into one of, like, those Gallagher melons that just gets crushed all the time, which is a nice squish melon. I didn't know if anyone remembered Gallagher, so for some reason I felt like I had to explain my joke of an old man. But anyway, here we are. He makes it back up to the building and he's gonna fight Kane again, and then Kane is gone, and I'm like, alright, I guess that's how you really anticlimactically end that fight.
Well, they can't have anything important happen
No,
if
not
Kane
with
is
Kane.
involved.
Kane's like the
Yeah.
limp noodle of characters. You can't have anything ever exciting happen with Kane. I am gonna progressively hate Kane more and more. You may be wondering, Corinne, how could you clearly are really annoyed with this character? How could you be even more annoyed? I'm sure I'll find a way. I won't
Yeah.
disappoint. um, but yeah, so Kane's gone and that scene ends. And now the to wrap up the issue essentially, it's evening and Scarlet Spider is sitting on top of the smokestack that he like originally met Peter Parker on, and he decides he's going to throw away the hard drive. He like throws it into the lake or the river nearby because he has decided that um he doesn't need any validation but from himself. And I'm just like, that's nice.
But at the same time, it's like if you know of a medical condition, you know, you can maybe like be aware of some of the things that are going to happen. Like Dr. Trainer, I'm sure would have loved to have combed through some of this to maybe help his friend.
I don't know. Well, because the hard drive was just supposed to say that, like, he was the real Peter Parker.
So it's just like a Word document that says you win.
Or, like, I don't know if it would have been, like, lab tests or something. I have no idea. Science.
I mean,
Crazy.
I I like the symbolism of what he
Well,
does. I'm
because
just
he's
thinking
kind of
from a
questioning,
logical
he's like, this
standpoint.
could just be, like, it's the question of, like, do I need to see this to know who I am? Or has
Yeah,
my
yeah,
last 5 years of my experience of like leaving New York and coming back and being the Scarlet Spider, has that made me enough of my own person?
right.
And he decides, yeah, that's made me enough of my own person. So I think that's good. And it seems kind of like in terms of like when he'll turn into goop, I think it seems kind of like the attitude of like it'll happen when it happens.
Yeah.
Kind of like normal death, I guess, because it's like,
Yeah, it's
you
true.
don't we won't talk about that. But no one ever knows anything. So, you know, who's to say when you turn into goop or not? I don't know. And that's pretty. Oh, there is an epilogue before, because everything keeps happening all the time. we're going back to the district attorney. It's just to remind us that there's a warrant coming out for people's arrest, and it's taken a long time to get because the person that they're going to be arresting hasn't really ever committed a crime, so it's like taking a while. And in another town, Peter 3.0, he again took a nap by a dumpster and he's about to get mugged by a group of people, and he wakes up because he has spidey senses, but he doesn't know that, and he just like defends himself with super spidey skills and then like runs away. And it really
Mhm.
confuses him because he's like, I don't know what I just did. I don't know how I did
I mean,
any
that
of
would
that. That was pretty
that
wild.
would it like a Jason Bourne kind of thing.
Yeah,
But also,
exactly
I
like a
liked
Jason Bourne thing.
I like the thought process, whatever these muggers had, of this guy is sleeping next to a dumpster. I bet he has things we can steal.
Yeah, I don't have the logic behind it, but it made for an interesting scenario.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's really weirded out Peter 3. He's just like, what happened? I don't know.
I feel like we should come up with a fun name for like P3 or something.
P3PO.
Oh, but then I'll think of P3PO.
P3PO!
There we go. I was gonna.
Because it's got two
All right,
P's
so
in it.
P3PO is a good name, right?
I like it. I'm keeping it. Pointing it. Things that I liked. So I was not the biggest Spidey fan going into this. Like, I have other superheroes that I just like prefer to read about. But
Yeah.
I said it before, I'm saying it again. I really like Ben Reilly. I think he's really swell, and I like watching him turn into his own person. And it's very nice to see a hero who's kind of going through like learning self confidence and self validation. Because
Hmm.
I don't know, I guess like the X-Men kind of go through similar things because it's like they feel different and they feel like outsiders. But I think that the themes of those books fall more with like a community sense as opposed to too much of an individual thing. And I could be wrong because I haven't read a ton of them. Or I don't think I've read any of them. I just watch movies and I could be wrong. And like with Batman, it's got more to do of like why is he protecting the city? It doesn't have to do with so much of himself. Like he knows his story and it's more
Batman is one of the most self-confident people.
yeah, and it's more of just like the question is like why is he doing the things he's doing? Like why is he protecting the city? Is it because of like his family or like whatever? And it was very cool to see a superhero just be like sometimes I don't really know who I am and like I feel lost in the world and like kind of watch them feel more comfortable with like I am myself and I like myself
Yeah.
because I'm me and I'm like, "Oh, we like you too." So I liked that. I thought that was a lot of fun. The art in this was much cleaner than last. It was nice to see that. That's my other thing.
Hmm.
Okay, the things I didn't love as much. This could have been a really nice ending if you just left it with with the throwing the hard drive into like the Hudson or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I
Well, it would be a good ending for Ben's
yes.
plot here.
And you can tell that this is like where it was supposed to end. Like,
Yeah, like they
and
were
then
really
maybe like
ramping
the
up to
next
this.
issue is like Peter Parker's end. And like then it would be done. And
Mhm.
but it's not. It like they keep adding like it's that epilogue that I don't like because it just reminds me that it's like this could have been a nice finite story, but we have the loose ends that we brought like 5 issues ago or however
Yeah.
many with like the web of life. We have these detectives, and I'm just like I don't.
You have the detectives. You've got the P3PO. You
Yeah, and
have
like I think I'm most annoyed like as much as I love like I think it's fun the Jason Bourne thing they're doing with a Peter Parker. I just like kind of I feel like it's too late
yeah. I mean, I can see that.
and like
I
it's just kind of weird And like, I don't know, I'm just kind of tired of loose ends. And there was
Imagine
also,
reading this as it was coming out.
yeah, and now that I'm
And
thinking about it, like there's other loose ends that they just dropped. Like there were some things, like I think with Web of, no, it wasn't Web of Life. It was like Power and Responsibility. No, it was like The Exile Returns, where it's like all of like the organized crime people are like, we gotta get Spider-Man. None of them have come back. So it's like, why does all these other people have to come back? And
right.
it's honestly, a lot of them have to come back because of my number one con, because they still have Kane in here. That's
Yeah.
why. Like the only reason the detectives are still here is because Kane is here. And it's just like,
Yeah. If you remove Kane from
this is
this,
still a good story if you remove
you
Kane.
could you could tie up
Yeah.
everything.
And it could be done. But for some
Yeah.
reason they were like, we gotta add a veiny blue man.
Yeah.
And give him no context. And it really, if you can't tell, pisses me off. Anyway, we're gonna go to the last thing.
Love the energy you had to transition there.
Yep. Listen, it's been a while, and I feel like people just want to get to the end.
Hey guys, this is Derek from the editing booth. Speaking of getting to the end, we have actually decided to stop this episode here. Corinne and I kept recording. We have another episode coming out that will be focused specifically on Amazing Spider-Man 400. And that should be out next week. We got to the point in this episode where it was already pretty long. And when we got to Amazing Spider-Man 400, it went even longer. And we just realized that, I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 400 was kind of like its own topic, so it should be handled that way. With that being said, I hope you guys stick around, and we'll see you on the next episode. For those of you that want to follow us, you can find us on whatever social media you want just by searching at PedanticCast. You can go to www.comicallypedantic.com. You can also go to www.fuckcomicsgate.com if you want to donate to the Games and Online Games and Online Harassment Hotline. We'll be back with another deep dive into comics, but until then, you can find more exciting adventures at your local comic shop.
I don't know what energy I'm on today.
I don't know, but ending that with, I love when old people wake up.
I do. It's very reassuring for me. I don't know.
Maybe I too will wake up.
I'm still asleep right now. I'm just sleep operating. Ew. Okay. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I gotta stop drinking my sparkly water. I'm gonna have to pee soon. We have so much more to go through. It's fine. Anyway, back to Spider-Man. You know why? Sorry, I burped. Excuse me. I don't know. It'd be pretty cool if you had a mutant baby.
I think it depends on the mutant ability, because like you could be right back into like the talking about Twilight with like the baby
killing you.
slowly killing you.
I don't know. We should just have a day where we just talk about what we think our mutant power would be and why. But but that's for a different day. We gotta talk about Spider-Man.
I'm gonna pull us aside just for a second, because I will say the power that I like, I don't know if I like it the most, because I would love to be able to teleport. I love Nightcrawler. But the mutant power that I think is super interesting and you could do a lot with, and that I think I could do a lot with, just in terms of if you made it about stress and not necessarily about like physical stress, but like emotional stress.
Right.
Is there's a character named Strong Guy, and who has a silly name because he named himself to be silly.
Right.
Strong Guy has the ability, like if he gets hit by something, he kind of absorbs that as like power, and it makes him stronger for like whatever. He like has to hit somebody to let go of that energy.
Right.
If not, it like forms into like he has a deformed body because he hasn't always done that.
Yeah, because
Like
it's
his
like if you get hit with a filing cabinet.
right. There's a point in like one X-Men issue or X Factor, I think. He like stops like a bus or something. Then he ends up having a heart attack afterwards because it's just so hard on his body and he couldn't release all of the energy fast enough, you know?
Oh no. He's gotta walk around with like kickboxing dummy or something.
Right. Anyway, sorry. I you brought that up and I was like, I need to talk about this because Strong Guy is a great character and not enough people know who he is.
That's okay. Anyway, back to Spider-Man.